I always look forward to playing a brand new Dragon Quest game, and the series has such a legacy to it. I mean, think about the lore, the charm of every game, the stories, the characters, the music, and I'm still very early in my Dragon Quest series journey. So far, I've played through Dragon Quest XI for the Switch, 1 through 3 HD 2D for PlayStation 5, and now I've finally made my way up to Dragon Quest IV. Chapters of the Chosen. And going into this one, to be honest, I really didn't know what to expect. I've heard some people talk about, these Dragon Quest games for years, and I didn't really have a frame of reference for why this might have been such a big deal. All I know is that it was a Dragon Quest game and a lot of people liked it. That's really all I could say. What I didn't expect, though, is how modern some of the storytelling ambitions feel. Yes, this is a game that's now 35 years old. Obviously, I've played the Nintendo DS release, which came out in 2001, and the way that it introduced the characters, the tone shift, and the way that it builds the world feels incredibly thoughtful. It doesn't rush, it doesn't lore dump on you. Instead, it slowly invites you to live in the world of these characters until you feel like you genuinely know them. And that's the biggest theme of this review. Dragon Quest IV is a game that earns its emotional weight, not through plot twists or cutscenes, but through time spent with the characters early on. It lets you live alongside them before the real story even begins. So let's talk about Dragon Quest IV. I've just finished my playthrough. I'm really looking forward to giving you guys a deep dive on my thoughts and feelings about my first impression playing this game for the Nintendo DS. Before we get to that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already, and leave your thoughts down below. Have you played Dragon Quest IV either for the NES or your phone? I think this is going to be a fun and educational one. So yeah, let's talk about the game. By the way, if you want to chat more JRPGs with me on the regular, I would love to have you in my Discord group, actually. I mean, there's a lot of people always chatting all the time, and I would just love to meet more of you guys and talk games. So let's do that. The link is down in the description below. Now, the defining feature of this game, and what immediately sets it apart from everything that I've played so far, is the chapter system. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it at first, honestly. JRPGs traditionally want you to bond with some of the characters and your party more or less right away. You want to form that emotional connection early. But Dragon Quest IV flips that idea entirely. Instead of one hero leading a party from the very beginning, the game unfolds as a series of smaller stories, little vignettes that reveal one piece of the world at a time. So the beginning of the game kind of shows you the window of the main hero of the game, whose canonical name is Solo if you choose a guy, or Sophia if you choose a girl. That's cool. It just leaves you with that little bit of thread. What's happening in this town? What's happening in the world before you move on to the different characters? Let's start with the first one, Ragnar. His chapter sets the tone by being surprisingly kind of grounded. It's like an echo of Dragon Quest I. Instead of chasing demons or collecting ancient relics, you play as one knight investigating missing children. It feels a little bit more intimate rather than epic, almost like a mystery. And you know what? That simplicity works really well. And then the game transitions to Elena's chapter and the entire tempo shifts. Suddenly things feel adventurous and bold. Elena brings this wonderful, energetic spark to the story, and her determination to sneak out of the castle and prove herself immediately makes her a standout character. And then Maya and Mina's chapter arrive with a noticeable change in tone. It introduces something more emotional and personal. It's kind of like a revenge story here. It's still simple by modern standards for sure, but you know what? I think it was pretty grounded for an earlier Dragon Quest game. And also, we cannot talk about the chapters of this game without mentioning Tornekos, which was delightfully mundane in the best possible way. Instead of saving the world, you're helping somebody chase his dreams of opening an item shop. Yes, there is turn-based combat here, but you're literally stuck behind the front counter of an item store buying and selling swords and shields and stuff like that. It's really interesting. It puts an RPG mechanic on its head in a way that I've never experienced in my 30+ years of playing games. And there's something heartwarming, almost anti-JRPG about it. Progressing the story by helping someone negotiate prices and try and shift items back and forth. And you know what? It just made the world feel human, like actual people live here and have had lives long before the chosen hero appears. So each chapter gives you different perspective, different culture, different rhythm, and together they create a world that feels lived in. So when chapter 5 finally begins and you assume the role of the hero and everybody kind of begins to band together, it feels like you're stepping into a story where everybody else has already been busy living their lives. It makes the world feel bigger and more cohesive, and for a game from 1990, that narrative structure was pretty ambitious. But the ambition of this game isn't without its rough edges, especially the Nintendo DS version, and more comparatively, going from the HD 2D versions of 1 through 3 now to a DS game that's pretty much 24 years old now. Yeah, so it still had some signs of age. I mean, the biggest shift wasn't visual, it was structural. Dragon Quest IV expects you to explore towns, talk to everyone, and dig for clues about where to go next. Without quest markers or subtle UI nudges, there were moments where I found myself wandering around town thinking like, did I miss something? And usually the answer was yes. Maybe I forgot to talk to somebody in a certain order or find somebody hanging out in a corner of a building that I just completely missed. Eventually, I adapted to this approach, and honestly, once I embraced it, yes, it became part of the charm. The lack of direction forces you to pay attention, to engage with the world, and to treat NPC interactions as something meaningful rather than like flavorful text. Now, the biggest struggle for me came later in the game when I realized something that I didn't expect. As soon as the cast joins together in Chapter 5, their personalities just totally disappear. The DS version lacks party chat, which was a huge part of my most recent game that I played, which was Dragon Quest II HD 2D. I loved the tone of conversations with the characters that you have in your party, and without those conversations, even in this game, I mean, I don't know, I just feel like having these characters stop commenting on things or having their personality injected to it, I feel like it kind of stopped what made some of their individual chapters feel alive. It doesn't ruin the game by any means, but it just creates this sharp contrast. The characters feel vibrant and maybe even distinct early on, but once the full party assembles, that expressiveness fades. And this is where Dragon Quest IV feels both ahead of its time and also held back by its era. The structure is brilliant, but this DS version doesn't fully support the emotional continuity that the structure demands. Now, I know I could have played the mobile version with party chat, but hey, I was just playing what I had. Now, one thing that holds up really well in Dragon Quest IV, regardless of what platform you're playing, is the world building. Experiencing the world through multiple perspectives gives a sense of depth that, you know what, I really enjoyed. Towns feel distinct, from like the Scottish accent of Ragnar's chapter to the very heavily Russian-infused dialect of Elena's chapter. Everything had personality and problems in a good way. I mean, NPCs reference things from other chapters or other towns, which makes the world feel more cohesive rather than disconnected. There's a warmth to the world that's kind of hard to describe. It's like this cozy atmosphere that makes even the most simple of towns feel memorable. Now, of course, before we talk any more Dragon Quest, did you guys know that almost 90% of the people that watch my channel on the regular are not subscribed? So I would love to have you on each and every single video I release every week, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to follow me along on my social platforms like Instagram and Twitter, I would love to have you there as well. More Dragon Quest right now. Now, of course, beneath the warmth looms something darker. Nearly every chapter hints at some trouble brewing, strange rumors, disappearances, whispers of evil creeping into the edges of daily life. It starts quietly, almost unassumingly, and by the time you reach Chapter 5, you can really feel that pressure building. I mean, Dragon Quest IV doesn't start with this grand threat. It lets you witness the shadow spreading through unrelated stories until you realize how far it's actually reached. And when the villain finally enters the spotlight, it feels kind of impactful and earned in a way. And the world has been reacting to this darkness long before the hero arrives. So even with the minimal cutscenes, I guess you could call them, those moments carry weight. It's a surprisingly elegant way to build tension using the structure of the game itself. And then there's Zenithia, the castle in the sky. I mean, even knowing a little bit about Dragon Quest, I'd kind of heard of this before, and I was really excited to learn more about this. Zenithia, it's kind of more than a location. It's like this glimpse into this mythological layer of a world that only 4 has kind of teased. So I haven't played 5 and 6 yet. I've only just started 5, so I'm really interested in learning, is there something more to it rather than just being this floating castle in the sky? It's really interesting. And the game kind of intentionally avoids over-explaining it, which makes the legend feel larger than the story that you witness within the confines of this game. As somebody playing the games in order, seeing Zenithia for the first time feels like stepping into chapter 1 of a bigger novel. I could be right, I could be wrong. Don't reply to me in the comments and spoil anything, because I want to go into these games as blind as possible. But you know what? This seems like a great foundation for what everybody says is a really good trilogy, and I'm super excited for what else is to come. Now let's talk about combat here. I mean, this is typical Dragon Quest combat. It's simple, clean, and satisfying. Dragon Quest IV does not reinvent any turn-based systems. It doesn't do anything new here. I think what really helps is with the chapter system, you get to learn and understand these characters, and then once you finally band together, you have a better understanding of what their identities are and how best to use them. Elena's like the truck of the party, like hits so hard, and I really love having her as my main kind kind of melee attacker because the hero just helps balance between attacks and healing. And Maya and Mina complement each other beautifully. Torneko is great, but you know what? Not my favorite in terms of battle. Ragnar's another great heavy hitter. And Borya and Kirill are amazing to have in your party. And you know what? I really just love the diversity between the party. It's fast, it's responsive. You know, you kind of decide how you want to play the game. There's no one right or wrong way. The party formation is entirely up to you. And you know what? You really don't need to overcomplicate this, because the heart of the experience is how you decide to form your party and fight the evils of the world. Now, we have to talk about something purely hypothetical here, because after playing Dragon Quest 1 through 3 HD 2D, there are maybe some rumors of having Dragon Quest 4 through 6 come to HD 2D, which I would absolutely love. And after playing it, I really would love to maybe just speculate a bit about it and just say, I'm so down for this. I normally don't really like to replay games, but I would absolutely dive back into a Dragon Quest 4 HD 2D remake. I think this game really lends itself into having these little vignettes reinterpreted in a modern way. It's just a beautiful HD 2D way with voice acting and appreciating the different dialects and little towns that you play in. I would love to have this game in my hands. But beyond eye candy, an HD 2D remake could actually fix my biggest problem with the game, and that's the loss of character personality in Chapter 5. Proper party chat could return and even boost the experience like it did with Dragon Quest 2 HD 2D. Character interactions could flourish, emotional beats could be expanded, and the cast could regain the richness they had in their individual chapters. And with modern cutscene tools, I mean, this game could finally express everything it was trying to do in 1990. Now, like I said in my Dragon Quest 2 HD 2D review, I didn't play that game originally for like the NES, so that was my first time playing it, but from everything I've seen, it is a completely different game. It's a completely different experience. The foundation is there, of course, but that new version really helps this game flourish in a way that the original couldn't. And the same thing applies here for Dragon Quest 4. Now, if we're talking like how this game could be reinterpreted in a better way, I want to touch on Sorrow, the main villain of the game. I played a little bit of Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince a few years ago, and I didn't really love the game, but now that I have more of an appreciation for Dragon Quest, I'd be interested into reevaluating that game and getting a little bit more story information, because obviously there's going to be some stuff that ties into Dragon Quest 4, showing his motivations and just allowing you to understand his relationship with Rose, because you know, if you finish the game, you can move on to the post-game. There's some post-game story stuff that helps you maybe understand why he's doing what he's doing. And actually, maybe he's kind of been set up and maybe he's not the real true bad guy of Dragon Quest 4. So that's a very interesting kind of narrative thread that would be really great to have fleshed out, fully explored. Again, a lot of the story stuff here is very surface level. So having something fully expanded with a remake will be really great, because same thing with like Dragon Quest 1 through 3 HD 2D. I know those narrative foundations were there, but man, they really just exploded in terms of quality. So I would really love to see this game especially built back up from the ground up in HD 2D, allowing some of these narrative threads to fully flourish. And Sorrow is one character that I really thought was really cool, and I like that you can get him in your party as well in the post game. It's really cool, really clever. So where do I stand now that I've finally played Dragon Quest 4? I mean, for me, this is a moment where I can feel the series starting to grow up a bit. Not because it becomes darker or more complex, but because it actually becomes more ambitious. And I'm trying to look through a lens that isn't totally skewed by playing newer, better versions of the games that came before it. This game experiments with structure, perspective, and a narrative rhythm in a way that feels kind of remarkably ahead of its time for when it originally released. I mean, yes, the DS version has some shortcomings, and the pacing can be a bit wobbly, and yes, the lack of party chat holds the cast back in later chapters, but none of that overshadows the creativity at the core of this game. Dragon Quest 4 doesn't dazzle you with like big plot twists or emotional cutscenes. It earns the emotional weight through the time spent living alongside its characters, through these small stories that shape the world long before you even start playing as the hero in Chapter 5. And to me, that's one of the most charming things about it. Even after playing the HD 2D remakes, playing this DS era game with all the quirks, Dragon Quest 4 gave me a deeper appreciation for the heart, the warmth, and the ambition of this franchise. It feels like the beginning of a new era. I mean, quite literally, this is the stepping stone for what people say could be the best trilogy in the Dragon Quest franchise, and I'm genuinely excited to continue playing. So if this is how the Zenithia arc begins, I can't wait to see where it goes next. So that's my experience with Dragon Quest IV. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've played this game, let me know your thoughts as well. And I'm super excited to finally get to Dragon Quest V, which a lot of people say is maybe the best in franchise as well. So thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave your thoughts down below. And otherwise, I'll see you on another video next week. Bye-bye.